Greetings, humans. If you're watching, if anyone's been waiting in the room,
What's up?
We're gonna start the show here in about 2 to 3 minutes. We got Ricardo here from History, Myths, and Legends joining us. Oh, nice. There I am. I gotta turn that down.
And I see us on X hosting. We're showing hosting.
Nice. Let's see. Let's check on Rumble. I don't see it on Rumble. Unable to connect to the custom RTP. Maybe it's the other one. I think we're live on Instagram right now, and Facebook and X. Just waiting on Rumble.
I haven't checked out YouTube.
All right, one more thing, and if that doesn't work, we'll just go ahead and get started. Anyone in the chat yet? If so, who are you and where are you from? All right. Yeah, I don't know. Rumble's not working. It's weird.
Rumble. We can check it again in a few minutes.
Okay.
5 o'clock.
Hit it.
I'm gonna go ahead and start the song low volume this time.
All right, let's do it. There we go. Greetings. Welcome to the Multiverse. Dave here, coming at you. We've got my co-host.
I'm Mike, and we're very pleased to introduce today a special guest, Ricardo Caballo, who's calling in all the way from Portugal. Ricardo is a multidisciplinary philosopher whose research revolves around uncovering hidden connections between ancient wisdom, resonance, and the intricate tapestry of our shared history. He's interested in a lot of the same things that me and Dave are, bridging the gap between science and spirituality. So we're very pleased to have him on the show today. Welcome, Ricardo.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
Normally we just we have our regular programming going, so that's our solar weather, our space news, our archaeological news. So we're going to hit some of that. We're also going to feature some of Ricardo's work, a paper that he's written, as well as one of his YouTube channel, one of his videos from one of his YouTube channels. He's got two. Ricardo, did you tell us about those two YouTube channels real quick?
Oh yeah, tell us.
Really? Sure. So I have History, Myths, and Legends. That's where I make videos of my papers so that it may become more accessible for people that need the imagery and the movement. And so, and then I discovered an application that can create AI commentary on any book that I put in it. So since I have around 300,000 books in our collection, all of them of scientific nature somehow, I decided to grab a book from time to time, give it to the system. He creates the commentary on the book itself, and it has been a good tool for people that don't want to read the book. So in that form, in 10 minutes, they can get the whole meaning through two people conversating in a normal fashion as possible from AI. But it's fun. People have liked it. Although I haven't launched, I have 100 episodes recorded, but I still need to release most of them. I only did about 15 or 20. I don't know how much for sure.
And you released those on the Institute of Natural Philosophy? Or?
No, I released that in the Akashic network.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us about that?
Quantum Akashic Network. So that's the YouTube channel where I upload those AI commentaries on the books, and I then add imagery, so people don't have to read the book. So you don't have time to read the book, and in 10 minutes you get the whole information about the book. So
cool.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay. Neat.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah. and the two guys, a male and a female talking, they do funny commentary. They try to make jokes. They laugh. They get amazed. They say, "I don't believe this."
Wow.
So yeah, it's very interesting how AI is evolving.
Yeah, I just noticed it just in the last year watching YouTube. Like YouTube has changed dramatically in the last year or two, just visually. And even just in our content creation, we're able to, it can analyze a 2-hour video and create 10 shorts out of it for us that are actually really well structured. It's like, wow.
I never tried that, but yeah.
And you also have your magazine that I wanted to plug at the beginning.
Sure. So about a year ago or so, I joined with Hayo Konsoma on X, and Phil from I can't remember, AAV. So he's well known as AAV, ancient AA. I can't remember the name, but it's AAV on Twitter, so it's fine easy to find. Sorry, and we joined and made what is called the Institute for Natural Philosophy, and one of our projects is to actually use our ideas about the past and go to places as an institution, so we can actually access them, study them, reserve them the space for a few time, and try to go a little bit further than we see on academic papers, because they find amazing things in several sites, but they always say it's all but a trick of the mind, or it didn't really happen, or it's like a show like we are talking, the X-Files. It's amazing all the way to the end, and then in the conclusion it's just a trick of the mind.
Yeah, and that's a great idea that you guys did that, because as we know, like people with alternative theories on some of these sites often get banned. Like Graham Hancock is the most famous one, who got banned from the Serpent Mound last year.
Yeah.
When we were talking, Ricardo, on X, you mentioned that you might be going there. Is that
yes. We are teaming up with the Strange Road production team.
Okay, Strange Road production team, got it.
Yeah, and we are trying to, we are already approved for pre-production, so we are already evaluating the costs to create the Institute's first event that will be on the vicinity of the Serpent Mound in Ohio. So
cool.
We are quite excited to do that, probably after spring, so you have time to advertise it and so on. But I didn't answer your question back then. The magazine came as to give actually a voice to all those academics that you're talking about, researchers, to be able to show their material in a professional way, in a professional medium that can then reach anyone, anywhere. So because, for instance, in this first edition, we have 2 actual people with academic degrees whose academic peers don't accept their papers. We have Stephen Moore that created a new form of mathematics, and I want to make it short. But the point is, after he sending the paper twice, because they rejected first the history, that he was mixing history with mathematics. You can't have that. It's 2 different areas. So take the history out and send us the paper again. So we take all the history out, about 300 pages or so, out of the document, sent only the mathematics, and the mathematics came back again saying, we cannot accept your paper. So why cannot this time? Because the mathematics you're showing in your paper doesn't exist. It's there on the paper. It doesn't exist. So he couldn't be the inventor of the mathematics. That's what they're saying. So And then we have V Duo, who is an actual historian from China, who has a fantastic theory about the connection between China and North America with the finding of characters, symbols that are clearly from Chinese origin, and they can date them because Chinese are very organized in their scriptures and their history. Everything was documented, so she can place that in time, and she created several papers about that they also don't wish to be published. So she's also being featured there. But we also have people interested in photography, somehow related to history. We have people that never wrote and are now writing articles about the topics that they have researched for long year. We have chronicles that will be the same people writing them every month. We have a philosopher. We have Jan, the birds. It's called Birdman or something, right? I can't remember the name. But Jan, thank you very much for your support. Jan will be doing a photographic report. And we have Nikiana Jones that will do also a chronicle every single month about her travels, the things that she found, and so on. So we're quite excited. It will come out soon. Perhaps this weekend will be out there for everyone. Oh, by the way, the first issue will be completely free to everyone. So the ebook, that will be a foldable version, not a screen down thing. It's still a magazine on your full screen with double page photographs. And
Cool.
so
Awesome.
yeah. So it was quite expensive to make it that way, but we have very good people working with us, although some of us couldn't afford it. Together we made it, and we're going through it. So it will have an amazing look as a physical magazine that we are going to sell it also as in the digital form. So,
and when does it come out?
We are hoping to release it until the weekend. So just fine tuning the last thing, because we want every single page. We have page of great quality, 90% of it, and we want 100% of it to be like that. So it will take a few more days to put it out, and that's it. Sorry for taking too long to explain it.
No, you didn't take too long. I think that's great. What's up, Mike?
I think the publication will be able to hold its own among National Geographic and any other magazine of that nature. We look forward to reading it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I like the attention to detail you guys have put in to really make sure that you're presenting a very professional product, both your Institute of National Philosophy and your YouTube page, because that's just it. That's how they can attack anybody with an alternative theory, right? Is say, oh, you're not credentialed enough or whatever. And what's interesting is you have people on your team and part of your magazine who have professional degrees and are professional writers, and they're still getting their stuff shut down. So I like it. If you can't beat them, just make your own team. That's what you guys did.
Yeah. Because look, one of the articles from one of the founders of the institute, that is Guy, high on Oxoma, is explaining exactly that we live in the age of information. We don't need a degree anymore to be an expert in anything, because we can access what you are given in college and more. So because the courses are very narrow, so you have to do the rest for your own. So
right. All right. I'm just talking in the chat there. If anyone's in the chat, where are you from? How's it going? What are you thinking about today? We can go into the regular programming now, and then we'll get back to Ricardo's work later on in the show.
All right.
Thanks again, Ricardo, for joining the show.
Oh, I'm the one thankful.
A few quick hits on global news at the beginning of the show. There was a magnitude 7.3 earthquake a little over a day ago, that affected the island of Vanuatu. Rescuers are digging for survivors. This is almost a day old, this article. So we hope that everybody's doing all right over there in the Southwest Pacific. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't get any word of that at all.
Here's the USGS map of all magnitude 4.5 plus earthquakes. Ooh, let me share this tab instead. Got to remember to do that. Within the last day, so this one highlighted in blue at the center That's the one I just described. The next largest earthquake before that was a few days prior that affected Chile on the other side of the Pacific. Was a 6.4. And next is a map I found on X platform of every earthquake recorded since 1898.
That's wild. That is a wild picture.
Wow.
Any in Portugal?
Tough to see from here. This one is centered over the Pacific.
I was trying to look for my country and it wasn't there, and there it is.
Way on the right side of the map.
Yeah.
All right.
So we said we would cover earthquakes on the show, and then each week that we've done a show, there have not been major earthquakes to speak of. So I wanted to be sure to mention that today, and we hope everybody is doing all right in Vanuatu.
Yeah, the 7.7. That they really start to do damage when they get up there, especially if the infrastructure is not great.
Another quick hit at the beginning of the show. I've been very pleased to observe a growing following of people on the X platform who are advocating to end daylight saving time altogether, including Congress people that are paying attention to this movement. I just wanted to throw this map to remind us of the relationship between the Earth and the sun, folks. Noon is when the sun is directly overhead. It doesn't matter what your clock is set to. Really, noon is when the sun is overhead, wherever you are on Earth. That's why they invented time zones. And who are we to go around pretending like the sun is somewhere that it ain't and calling it a time that it ain't? So not only should we get rid of daylight savings time altogether, we should perhaps also examine the boundaries of the time zones themselves. I wouldn't go as far as to say as we're trying to gerrymander the sun, but let's be realistic, people.
Well, if you are really lost, just remember that on the North Hemisphere, the sun is always on the south. If you're seeing the sun on the north, you're really far away from home.
That's a good point.
Do they have daylight savings time in Portugal? That might be
yes. It makes no sense, but it is what it is.
I never really thought about it too much until I met Mike, and he's been like talking crap about it for like the last 2 months, and it got me really thinking about it, like how much does that affect me? Because I wake up early, so I wake up before the sun comes up anyway, and so most people are saying that like we need to sleep longer until the sun comes up, that kind of thing. I wonder if I could even do that. I wake up at 5 a.m. no matter what. But I guess what Mike is saying, and what a lot of people are saying, is get up. You're a grown up, right? Get up whenever you want.
Exactly.
And if that causes us to have a greater societal discussion of why are we in such a rush to get to work so early, maybe we need to have that discussion.
Yeah, but I see an uniformitation of circadian cycles, because there's people that need 4 hours sleep, there's people that need 6 hours sleep, there's people that need 7, 8. So it's not a matter of the sun; it's a matter of the cycle of the person itself. So it's in here. The explanation is that the changing the time for plus an hour or less an hour. The explanation is for the children not to go in the dark to school, but the end result is they get out of school quite in the dark instead of coming out into the day. And since parents take the child to the school more in the morning than they take them home on the evening, it's completely contrary to what it's supposed to be. But we don't have any control on it. So
yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Ricardo, that everyone sleeps a different amount, right? And based on your age, based on whatever, a bunch of different factors. Like me, I really only need 5 hours sleep, but I know people who need 10. And so that's really not the point. You're right. It's really what's more useful for society, right? And it's interesting that we're having a discussion about this. Finally, there's some states in the U.S. that don't observe it, but it's never really been a topic. It's always been what it was. We just did it, you know.
Well, it's a mess with people that don't have that. So when we were +1, GMT +1, lots of guests that we had on the Institute failed the timing because they don't understand the +1. So it gets messy because of that. Now that we are on GMT normal, it stopped happening.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's good. And I guess at the end of the day, even if we remain confused, the sun and the earth, they know where each other's at. So
Right.
let's do a quick hit on solar weather as well. Right now, all those big sunspots are facing away from the earth. And that's a good thing because there was a massive solar flare, Halo CME, that erupted on Tuesday. You can see the
Wow.
LASCO imagery. Yeah, big one, full halo
Yeah.
corona around the sun.
And that's the question: is the sun conscious? Because it seems that all the big bursts are away from the sun, so are away from the Earth. So it's too much. It's too much.
So all the big ones are facing a different direction.
Exactly.
And so maybe occasionally, like maybe younger, driest time, possibly the sun's like, hey, you guys need a little wake up call.
Well, you could explain that, because you have to consider that there was a massive comet diving into the sun, and that increases the connection to the sun, and that creates the flare directed of the comet by the electric connection through the medium of vacuum that is not a vacuum at all. So and that can make the comet to burst, the comet bursting several pieces. The pieces fall on Earth. The pieces that fall on Earth creates volcanology blanks the Earth, and the ice melts and then freezes again, and you have younger dryas explained.
Yeah. It's not, you've done a lot of your own research into the younger dryas. Do you think, I know this is a little off topic on but since you brought it up, Mike, just hang on. So Robert Schoch says solar flare, Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson say comet. It sounds like you're saying a little of both.
It is both in my mind, because we've seen it happen. How many times the channel's suspicious observers have shown the interaction between the sun and the comets?
Yeah.
So, and blasts thrown away directly to the object that is incoming. We have seen it. So imagine a much larger, as we have never seen, a much larger object. Just keep this in mind. The Levi-Strauss that impacted Jupiter, okay, was blown away by the interaction with a planet. Okay, a planet, not a star. Imagine what it would happen if he managed to get close to the sun.
Right.
So we could have another of those events. And if you see, you have events in that mark of the Younger Dryas, then you have in 7000 BC, and then you have them again in 4000 BC. So there were multiple pieces that went around, and each time they pass, boom, because they were on that trajectory. So to me, it makes common sense. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that to me, that's the explanation that makes more sense, because it brings all this good information that different people brought that are just focused on that subject. And when you combine them, you see they make sense.
Yeah, it seems like you're always looking at the whole picture more than just trying to stay in one lane.
I do try.
It's the most important thing.
But as I told you, we don't know what we don't know, so it's hard to see it all.
Before you move on, actually show this, but then I got something I just pulled up, Mike. That's a little bit funny related to what we're talking about. But go ahead with your suspicious observers.
Well, that was funny you mentioned suspicious, because that was the next tab, of course.
Literally, that's why Ricardo's our perfect guest.
We watch this every day, and there's some news today about a new geomagnetic survey that's published.
Lastly, folks, the annual magnetic field updates are beginning to come out, and up first it's the 5-year model update. Came out yesterday and already being used to update and solidify things like GPS and geodesy. They haven't yet put out the annual report, still the 2023 version listed, but the 2024 version is coming out in the next few days. They did offer an animation, however, the first time they've done a special side graphic like this, showing the slowly moving magnetic pole speeding up to a faster shift. It's their visual of how the current magnetic pole reversal is accelerating.
Wow.
Folks, the next 2 mini conferences are...
I'm going to mute it and then rewind so we can watch this cool animation again.
Yeah. Ricardo, how much do you know about the magnetic pole shift? And do you feel like commenting on it at all? I just don't have the scientific background to quite understand, but it sounds like everyone who looks into this, it's happening and it's speeding up.
Well, it's not my specialty, but I start looking. I first listened to this by a fellow named Brent Miller in the 90s, who managed to make a team of scientists, actual scientists, and he managed to alarm them to the point where they sold their houses and moved to higher ground in places they thought they wouldn't had any water coming in.
Mhm.
The problem, he made a very good documentary, by the way. But the thing is, he was trying to go to Antarctica for some reason to prove his point with the team, and they wanted $1 million back then in the 90s. So that never came to be, and the project eventually died. But it was the first try. It was the first try.
$1 million in the 90s was probably, well, I'm not going to guess, but I'm betting it's a lot more today.
Well, a nuclear Russian ship that can get where you want it to get, it costs around that still today. So it's more or less. So, but in answering your question, I think that Ben is, I think it's his name from Suspicious Observers,
Yes.
is absolutely correct on this. I think that the shift will start to accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. And I think all the things we are seeing on society, be them by the system or the people themselves, we keep saying that people are awakening. I'm not a big supporter of that, because people are awakening to so many nets created by the system. They end up trapped again in concepts that turn them from reality.
Right.
Fleeing from one set of falsehoods to a brand new set of falsehoods. It's terrible.
Exactly. As I used to say, well, I stole this from Richard Hoagland. That is, the lie is different at every level. So it's the truth. That's my addition to his wording, and adding that to my other phrase, that is, coincidence takes planning. If we put these two together, we see that there's a lot of stuff going on that really doesn't make any sense unless you have a broader side of things. And all these changes, all this sudden investment in space tourism, for instance, that is just, to me, some kind of financing projects that will allow these rich people to take their families a week up there in capsules while the earth burns or whatever happens, and then they return down to their bunkers and restart their lives. So you have that Steve Jobs guy that has, as Ben showed us, has a massive bunker, and a mile straight ahead from the bunker, he has a rocket with one of those capsules on top. So if we, like Conan Doyle used to say, by the words of Sherlock Holmes, if you eliminate the impossible, wherever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. So
that's right. He just needs that arc to last for 7 days. Bezos, huh?
Yeah, it's funny how you don't even realize you're doing it, Ricardo, but you keep segueing into like our next things we're going to bring up, which is amazing.
And that's what we do at the beginning of the show. A few quick hits on global weather, volcanic events, any of that type of stuff.
Yep. I wanted to show a quick video because I thought it was funny. 1 second. I gotta wait for an ad to play, so just 1 sec. But it's what it was. People were calling an alien mothership that was docking with the sun and then extracting plasma and then taking off.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on this because I saw it today.
It must be at least 10 years old.
Yeah, it's about 10 years old. Yeah. I just saw it today. There. And we're going to go ahead and hit play. I've got it paused, so just go ahead and we're going to watch it real quick. See that? I don't know. I keep showing this guy, but sorry about that. Yeah. So see that little sphere that's entering into the sun?
Yep.
It'll show it in a sec. It's showing this Death Star because that's what they're comparing it to, is the size as a Death Star-like object approaching the sun. And there's this sphere that kind of gets close, and then eventually it has this little docking mechanism. The cool part is when it actually flies off the sun. And it got me thinking today, like, like what kind of, so in order to create the anti-gravity it would require to like get that close to the sun, you wouldn't even need energy from the sun, would you? That's what I was thinking.
Because you're thinking of the sun in terms of energy. They could have been there for an experiment to inject something into the sun, to multiple things they could have done. Because let me put it this way. Do you remember Oumuamua?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oumuamua could be one of these ships that, in order to keep his track, needs to go to the sun and refuel, for instance. And going back to what you said. So there's can be many explanations on why we have these objects. I call them life probes, because I think that, well, I have a life project of a book that explains from the creation of the universe until today. But because I am quite vast in explaining everything, it takes me a lifetime to do it.
As we all should have. If you haven't started working on your own version of that project, I urge everyone to begin yours today. I'll begin mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I exaggerated a bit because I created the language, the fauna, the flora. So I use mythology and history to create something that is based. That is my modus of working. I always try to base my work, and these things are perfectly understandable within an array of subjects that can justify the occurrence of these effects.
Yeah, and just for our audience who doesn't know what Oumuamua was, it was a object, like a cigar-shaped object. I don't know the exact dimensions, that traveled through our solar system in a strange way. That
well, he slowed down, he accelerated, he changed trajectory, so everything that an object cannot do. Right.
Yeah, and so the speculation was from even high-level astrophysicists and stuff is that it was like Avi Loeb said that he's almost positive it had to have been, something else that wasn't a space rock anyway.
Yes. Well, the phrase was not alien, but of extraterrestrial origin.
Yes. So maybe it was a probe of some kind, like you mentioned. And this leads into what I was going to show, which and Ricardo had commented on, which was the billionaire privatized space travel industry. I read a book I picked up at an airport about 15 years ago called Space Barons, and I read it while I was on a trip, and it was about these guys, your Bezoses and your Elon Musks and your there was another one. Who was the other guy? The Virgin guy.
Yeah, I know.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson.
Yeah, it was about those three guys and their race for privatized space. But since then, I've always been interested in that topic. So we've been covering a little bit of what SpaceX is doing on the show. So I'm going to show you a couple of quick pages from SpaceX, recent launches. Not that one, this one. So this is SpaceX's recent launch. It's SE-3003B M-Power mission. On Tuesday, December 17th at 5:26, Falcon 9 launched that mission to medium Earth orbit from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We're going to go ahead and watch a little bit of that now.
The interstage at the top of the first stage, seconds and counting. We're coming up on the T-minus 35 second mark. Everything is go. Let's listen in to the launch of Falcon 9 with M-Power E.
It's one of Mike and I's plans and goals is to go to one of these launches, either for NASA, both for NASA and SpaceX, just to get some content for you guys, and just to experience it for ourselves.
T-minus 10, 9.
Look at this bad boy go.
6, 5.
Cameras rumbling. Something about this really makes me happy.
1.
I don't know why.
Ignition and liftoff. Go up.
Look what these earthlings are doing. Look at them down there.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Dang. So imagine you're like a galactic probe from an ancient civilization that's like, super far
T
from
plus
Earth.
30 seconds, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Complex
And you send it
39A
Oumuamua
Space
through
Center.
our solar
We're
system to
carrying
check
the
us out.
203B M-Power
You see us
satellites.
launch one of these bad
We've heard
boys
the
into
initial
the orbit.
call out. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal, and the Falcon 9 is beginning the pitch
Power and
downrange.
telemetry nominal.
Well,
Avionics confirms
So I'm
power
gonna go ahead
and
and stop
telemetry
that.
coming from the second stage are nominal on Falcon 9. We're into the throttle bucket
Falcon
right
9
now.
is supersonic.
So in Star Trek,
That was a good one.
If the Vulcans saw us do that, they would come to planet Earth and give first contact, peaceful first contact. But I don't know that that's what they do with our civilization or our species at this time. But I just thought that was pretty cool. And if we are indeed being watched, maybe that's I don't know. I like to think of that as a sign of human ingenuity. Ricardo, I think you framed it more like, feel free to correct me, but more like, kind of billionaire rich people creating their own ark, for lack of a better word. And that could possibly be true. That's true as well. Not possibly. That's definitely true.
no,
So
they started with a seed vault. It was the
What?
first step.
Yeah.
Was a seed vault.
Yeah.
But no one understood at the time. Why do we need a seed? Well, any country has the conditions, perfect conditions, to protect those seeds on their own. So we don't need to donate diversity to one place when you can have multiple places doing that. Then you saw this new movements that were Agenda 21, then Agenda 23, and all the city halls, all the cities going and signing this kind of documents just to get an influx of money in change of implementing some protocols that limit our movement, that are not that beneficial apart from paper. For instance, these 5-minute cities that people are discussing a while back. I saw a lot of people saying, yes, it's a good thing. No, it isn't. Because it's a good thing if you have that and you can go further than the 5 minutes. If you only have the 5 minutes to go and then you have to go back, that's not a good thing. Like selfless driverless cars. So I'm going to buy a car for the car to drive me. That makes no sense. And if I don't have the social credits to go to my friend's house, and if I put the destination before I set up and the car says, I'm sorry, but your credits doesn't allow you to go that far. So people are not understanding that they are giving control in terms of commodity. And this is really serious. Sorry for sidetracking. I apologize.
No, that's not sidetracking. I wanted to hear your commentary on that. You're right. If we keep signing over every time we sign up for a new app or whatever, and we agree to the terms and we pay for these memberships and we use these Amazons and stuff like that, every time we do, we're, like you said, we're trading convenience for commodity. It's not good for us. I don't think as humans, we're kind of getting away from even what it means to be a human, right? Like, let me make this gift myself and give it to my wife or my friend, instead of let's order it from Amazon and have it drop off at the house the night, in one day. So,
yeah, and if a drone comes and drops it, I pay extra $5 just to see the drone.
That's going to happen. That's part of the plan. I'm going to move on to my next SpaceX thing. It's not a video.
That's a good point, because that's one of my pet peeves too. It's also with the paying for like access models they have with computers and phones and stuff. You're paying for access to this stuff. What happened to buying a finished product off the shelf and doing what you want with it?
I think about that with video games, because you can't even buy like a physical disc or a cartridge hardly at all anymore. You have to download them online. And then do you really own the game at that point? I can't lend the game to Mike, right? Yep. So they're taking away our freedoms. This thing, I thought this was pretty cool. This returned to Earth yesterday. After 41 days docked to the International Space Station, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft completed its 31st commercial resupply services mission to and from the International Space Station for NASA, and is successfully returning to Earth and splashing down off the coast of Florida on December 17th. So I just thought that was kind of cool. That's it for my SpaceX news. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. And then the last thing I wanted to show in terms of astronomy, and I thought this was kind of neat. I was looking at this. There it is. Astronomers have discovered the first binary stars orbiting a supermassive black hole. The stellar pairing in question orbits the cosmic Titan at the heart of the Milky Way galaxy, Sagittarius A. So this is a binary star system orbiting the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. The binary stars designated D9 were found in data collection by the Very Large Telescope located atop Serra Perennial on top of a mountain in Mount Chile's Atacama Desert, on top of a mountain in Chile's Atacama Desert. By measuring their velocity, the team behind the discovery was surprised to find they were two stars, not one. I just can't imagine the physics behind all that. It doesn't work in my brain. A supermassive black hole with a binary star system orbiting it. I always thought that, and if you got close enough to a black hole, you just basically got sucked in, right? And I know that probably sounds ridiculous to maybe an astrophysicist, but
yeah, but imagine two marbles. Imagine two magnetic marbles spiraling down a really big drain. Yeah, you get sucked in, but there's this whole zone where they're going to be spinning and twisting for a little while. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, I in my mind, I wonder like what this future studies are going to look like of that system, and like can AI project some models of how that black hole is going to affect that star system over the next, I don't know, thousands of years or whatever. But had you ever heard of that, Ricardo? A binary star system orbiting a supermassive black hole?
A supermassive black hole? No, I haven't. But the question is, we need to start thinking that our physics, our cosmic physics, are systematically wrong at every new finding. We don't really know what a black hole is. We don't know its mechanisms. And what we are seeing is an image that is how far away?
Let's look. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's 2.7 million years old. So
okay, so that translated into time.
Mm-hmm.
We might be seeing it's like the black hole that's the center of our galaxy.
Supposedly, yeah.
So it couldn't even not exist anymore. And how do you explain something that can absorb matter, but it never bursts? So it never accumulates. Where does that matter go? We don't understand these things. And most of it, you saw the movement of the two binary stars rotating. So in an environment with those conditions, what is time? So how can they say how fast it is? Because we're seeing it through the lenses of space and through the lenses of time that we don't understand.
Yeah.
So the phenomena that we are observing and recording so well from astronomy may, after all, mean as much as the celestial spheres of the 14th century, or the 13th century. So it's fundamentally wrong, and because the base that supports all the mathematics from that way up is wrong, and they admit it already that is wrong. Even Einstein said, okay, this works, but this only works theoretically, because in reality none of this will happen, because we don't see how particles react. They react simultaneously in several fashions. Then you have those quantum relationships that are at the base of this. They don't have a yes and a no. They have a yes and a no at the same time, constantly.
Right.
So, well, it's beautiful to watch. It's a nice animation, but in reality, it's clickbaiting from the academia.
Yep.
It's just a way to say, give us more money that we'll start looking at this, like the dark matter. It's something that does not exist. It doesn't exist. You can explain it in so many other ways, and they know it, but it doesn't give money. So every year you have millions of dollars being donated to search for dark matter, a thing that doesn't exist. We've tried so many different experiences, we never found anything. So
yeah. We just got from our media team. We just got to it's 26,000 light years away. That's Sagittarius A, which goes along with what Ricardo's talking about, which is this is just so far away, and we're using primitive tools, and there's so much we don't understand between here and there that it's hard to say what any of what they're looking at actually is. I'm glad you pointed out the clickbaitiness of like. Because if you go space news or anything like that, astronomy news, you're going to come up with like a bunch of titles, and it's all got those buzzwords: supermassive black holes, dark matter, this, and then when you actually read the title, it's a lot like you were saying about the X-Files. When you read through the whole article, they just say a whole lot of nothing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Look, when I was growing up, documentaries were really good. They were really informative. They were not repetitive. They were not sensationalistic. They were based on the emotion of the facts, of the emotion of these discoveries, independently if they knew why or when. And now you go and you watch National Geographic and several other channels. I don't watch television, so I'm not sure of the names. But Odyssey, I think, and Nat Geo Live and whatever. And you get the voice from those guys, and it seems like a cheap contest of numbers and words, because and now we have the great lion Grim to attack, and so it seems that they are talking not only to children, but I'm sorry to say it, to children with mentally impaired conditions, because they keep saying the same things after again and again and again and again, and you go to intermission and they repeat the same thing afterwards the intermission as, look, I was listening before the intermission, okay? Don't need to repeat the 5 minutes that you gave me before the intermission. You just
That happens every time.
So
I agree with you as far as the density of the content on those, but having spent a lot of time watching long form 2, 3, 4 hour interviews where it's just 2 or 3 people talking for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, I do appreciate some of the high quality, high resolution video footage and camera footage that the National Geographics get. But you're right, the content itself is typically pretty lacking.
Yeah, it's no longer interesting. It's no longer interesting from my point of view, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely, they've definitely packaged it for the masses. I'll put it that way. We're going to transition into the ancient world.
Let's talk about 4,000 BC. What do you think about 4,000 BC?
I wanted to show.
Look in the Indian Ocean.
I wanted to stop actually at 200 AD for my quick little article, and then we'll get into that. That's how we'll segue into Ricardo's work. I just found this interesting. I recently got into this. Let's see the title of this. Archaeologists uncover earliest known evidence of Christianity north of the Alps, which is unusual for this time. They found a purely Christian artifact that does not represent Judaism or paganism, making it unusual for the time. And they're dating it to between 230 and 260 AD, and it's north of the Alps. And so I just imagine what it like the tentacles that Catholicism had at the time, and Christianity in general,
which helps
reach that far. It says,
because in Europe you have several. So
let's see, what does it say? Oh, I'm on the wrong one.
Could be the Swiss ones. It could be the Italians. Could be the French.
Italy. So I just imagine like the tentacles that like come out, like being able to travel that far, that early, and then we're actually finding relics from that time. Recently, I watched that Will Huff, biblical scholar, totally annihilate
poor Billy, man.
Billy Carson in a debate.
Rip in peace, Billy.
And
I still like a little Billy. I'm gonna go read the Emerald Tablets for Billy just to cheer him up. He needs someone to read the Emerald Tablets for him to cheer him up after getting embarrassed on the internet.
But it got me thinking about, which is an area that I haven't put much thought into. which is something I want to look more into, is biblical scholar work and like because this guy was so well prepared to annihilate Billy Carson that I was like, these guys really do their work. And he had like scriptures that he had made on papyrus himself and stuff like that he had forged, for lack of a better word. What's the other word for that? Not forged, because he's not presenting it.
Forgery. He made a forgery of him.
He made a forgery. He's just not presenting it as fake.
It's a replica when you're not lying about it.
Yeah. But he actually made a replica of some forgeries, as you know, to show. But I just saw this article because they found this artifact around that exact time that he found that Will Huff was talking about with Billy Carson in regards to the Gospel of Barnabas, and he basically talked about how the Gospel of Barnabas, I think he called that a direct forgery as well. And
overall perspective, if Billy had held his hand a little closer and hadn't said so many ridiculous things, he could have kept doing what he was doing for a whole lot longer. He got too flagrant with some of the silly stuff he was saying. Someone was gonna call him out. If he had been a little less silly, maybe he wouldn't have got attacked. Oh well.
Yeah. What do you think of guys like Billy Carson, Ricardo? Do you know of him?
Only the name. I'm sorry, I cannot comment because I'm not sure who it is.
I'm not surprised that you don't. Only because I don't want to
didn't exactly contribute anything new to the dialogue.
Yeah, right. So often what guys like him do, and I don't want to say the word grifter. He's doing his own thing. I'm not mad at him, but what he's done is he's repackaged, the whole ancient alien theory for himself as if he discovered it on his own, and then he makes a bunch of high quality production-wise videos because he's rich. And there's a lot, but they're not very informative and they're not very well thought out or anything like that. And anyone with, a professional background in any of the things that he likes to talk about, and he'll talk about aerospace engineering, he'll talk about quantum physics, he'll talk about biblical scholar as if he knows exactly what he's talking about. But as soon as you brought somebody like a biblical scholar on there, it was like he just shredded him to pieces. So there's a lot of
and Wes Huff's not the greatest scholar that ever existed. Wes is just an honest guy who knows his stuff and knows when someone's saying stuff that ain't right.
Right. But anyway, I just wanted to show that because I thought it was interesting and I've been thinking about it this week.
You also don't have to necessarily agree with Wes Huff's worldview to agree with him roasting Billy Carson on the internet. I mean,
he did roast him hard. I don't agree with his worldview necessarily, but yeah, he roasted him hard. So, and that is it for what I got. Let's move into our guest, Mr. Ricardo. Can you? Mike said that much better than I did. The last name, Ricardo.
Okay. It's Ricardo. Calvario.
Calvario. Got it. Okay, my wife would be proud of me for trying that.
So Calvario is the name in where supposedly Christ was crucified. So, but people that by their belief should be optimistic, instead of seeing the name as a place of liberation, of salvation, they see it a place of suffering, which is quite curious to me, because that contradicts everything that if that person existed, contradicts everything that he fought for and died for. So my name is usually connected with doom and gloom, and people still use it in my country as such. But it's quite curious that they use it the other way around, because it was the place of salvation, of renew, of hope. So it's funny, but it's Calvario.
Okay, that's interesting though. I never knew that, and I never knew that it was looked at. It was used as sort of a doom and gloom kind of way. Did people kind of use that on you, like growing up as a child, like saying your name, like what I mean?
Not as a child, because it takes a little bit of age to be aware of this kind of phrases. But it's something that doesn't know your name. or just knows the first one, and when he has the problem, he says, "Oh, this is just a cavalry." So
Yeah, that's actually funny.
so
So one of the reasons why we wanted to bring Ricardo on is because he does a lot of his own research. He's published a bunch of papers for his Institute for Natural Philosophy. How many papers have you published on there?
oh, I have no idea, but not that many, a few.
And
Well, it all turns out that when you research something, if you don't put it on paper, I had to read it to be here, because I work very much as I grab the information and then it's channelized into the paper. So I have to read to know what I've written. But the basic model stays within the head.
got it.
But
well, one of the reasons why I picked this article to look at and talk to you about today was because a lot of what I hear and what I read from Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and all these guys is about, the Younger Dryas and what happened 10,500 years ago to the planet that was catastrophic. And I hadn't heard anything about what happened on your guys' side of the world.
Yeah,
around 4,000 BC. That was all new for me. So it puts together it, like the theme of having Ricardo on here. He likes to look at the big picture, and we're all looking at a comet maybe bursting above the North American ice cap or ice sheet, and spreading out across Earth around 10,500 BC, and that was the last cataclysm to happen. But it was really interesting to read your article. Did you want to, or what did you think, Mike?
So I threw up this map because this article is about basically geological evidence that you started observing in the area where you live, Ricardo. And you saw evidence for some type of cataclysm, but you knew that whatever must have took place 12,000 years ago in the Younger Dryas would not have affected the region that you're in. So you began looking for other reasons as to what might have taken place, and you ended up settling on a period of about 6,000 years ago. Is that about right? Is that how you began this article?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, the first thing that I noticed is exactly what he told me. You just said that is, it was not 12,000 years ago, because if we look to the breakdown of society, it happened at the point of 7.2 thousand years ago, and then again at around the 4,000 BC mark. So if it isn't Younger Dryas, then we have to find a source, and we have to find the water.
Yep.
And there is no water where I live. So there is no glaciers, there is no melting of the ice, there is nothing like that. So where did the water came from? So I had to look for a source for the water. And then I started to look deeper into impacts into the ocean.
Yep.
And I found the Burkle crater that is more or less, forgive me, is more or less within that time frame.
Yep.
And then I found that the Burkle crater it is not an isolated event. It now scientists are saying that there was at least 2 more impacts at the same time, or 3 impacts at the same time. So I just started to connect the dots. I started my research about 35 years ago with biblical studies. I even gave lessons of that. So I was well aware of the myth of Noah. So that always intrigued me, that so many different places had the same descriptions of the events, and those events are all placed within some time frame that fits this impact. And so let's see if this impact is the actual cause for the deluge that happened in the Middle East. So that's how I came up to the paper. Sorry for making it so long.
In your studies of that literature, I've heard that Atrahasis, Utnapishtim, and Noah are essentially the same character that from different mythologies that descended from one another. Is that approximately true? Have you found
Is
that?
approximately true, yes. So the base for all those Middle East stories about the deluge or destruction of mankind, they all came from the same source. That is around 6,000, more or less. More or
Which
less.
we also view that time period with the rise of the Mesopotamian culture as the advent of writing written records.
Exactly. Well, it's the returning to,
Returning, right.
because you cannot date the plates. The ceramics, you cannot date those plates with the cuneiform. So they date inert matter with organic matter, but organic matter doesn't necessarily need to be placed with the non-organic matter at the same time. So that's another mistake that academics do, because they have to give it a date. So if it happens that they found something that found its way down in the dirt to that stratific layer, and
Mhm.
was placed next to that artifact, they will date the artifact with that organic material.
I think it's interesting that how you said they have to give it a date. It seems like one of those things where like they think they have to do, but they don't. They're just like, you don't have, if you don't know what the date is, then you don't have to give it.
Oh, but that's an academic rule. You can never say I don't know.
Yeah, I
You
find that
cannot hint at it.
I do think if I could make a case in slight defense of the academics, there is a certain stance that you must take when you're employed as an academic to be conservative. And I think so long as an academic is clear to distinct what they're interpreting as fact versus hypothesis, there's no reason why an academic couldn't indulge in speculation and hypothesizing, so long as they say so, and that's okay. No reason to hide behind having to be conservative.
Yeah, the problem is you have to start thinking about your career, your job, your
Mhm.
children, your house. You're in complete debt with the system. You cannot all of a sudden say, I had enough of your hypocrisy. Uh, I earned the right to say whatever I want based on the facts that I found. And that is no possible. It's not possible, because if it is, but it will change your life, because they would close the doors on you, so you will not be able to work unless you find work on other areas that are not science, that use science but are not science, or science from their peers. So it's quite hard for an academic, as you said, to come out and say I agree with this alternative theory, or as Robert Schoch tried at the beginning, and then he became more and more conservative, although he's still far out considering his peers, but he
Yes.
turned into, for instance, if you remember when he went to visit Ioguni, is that it,
Yes,
the
Yanaguni in Japan.
with Graham Hancock,
Mhm.
he was being pressured, I think, at the time to start taking a grip if he wanted to evolve in his career, and he denied any possibility that that was natural. And the younger Robert Schoch that we saw on the pyramids was eager to prove or disprove, testing
Yeah.
his series. And in that case, he didn't want to test anything. He just looked at it and said, no, to me it is natural, so this doesn't.
That particular scene in Graham Hancock's Quest for the Lost Civilization, where they did that Yanaguni dive, and him and Graham and what's the other guy, the Egyptologist? I forget his name. Anyway, they're all sitting on the boat and they're talking
It
about.
wasn't John Anthony West.
John Anthony West.
Yep, they all dove there together, and I could. John Anthony West and Graham Hancock are talking. They're calling it the monument, and they're calling it. They're referring to it as a monument created by humans, and you can see kind of the look on Robert Schoch's face. He's very hesitant to even agree with that sentence that it's a human-made monument. I wanted to ask your opinion, since you brought up Yanaguni. Man-made or what?
Well, I think it fits in the category of many other structures above and below water.
Right.
It is a nice place to build such a structure. So
Sure.
let's use what nature already gave us, and enhancement to our designs. So I think it's both natural, but it was man shaped to that final form.
Right.
So we have one of those that you can also find on my channel. That is the dolmen of Andrenunj in Sintra.
Yeah, I was looking at that the other day.
So the thing is, until the 19th century, when we had natural philosophers instead of historians, they looked at it and said, look, this is here and here is natural, but we can clearly see the action of man trying to enhance it and place these large orthostats vertically on top of horizontally on top of what nature already gave, and so on. And then came this guy in the 60s that was the director for antiquities, like the one in Egypt, and he ran almost 10,000 sites in 4 years, and they renamed them, all of them, to natural. All of them. There wasn't one that he said, no, this one was made. No, they became all natural all of a sudden. And funny enough, that old guy is now vindicated, because after I made the video, so the video has 2 years, I think, this summer, they returned there and they found that the stones were actually supported by other stones placed so to help them keep horizontally. So it's proven now that it's actually man-made and taking advantage of part of the structure that was natural. So it's almost 80 years of rejection, with the government doesn't want to do anything with it, so it's abandoned literally. The tracks to there are, depending of the time of the year, easy to make or not. But I think that people awareness are increasing, and perhaps that's not a good thing, because my last visit there, we saw a lot of people leaving there amulets and messages. So, well, it has both sides.
What's the site called again?
Adrenunj Dolmen. So ADRENUNES.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah. So how far away is that from you in Portugal?
About an hour.
Okay. I just wanted to show
that mountain is considered by the Moors that preceded the 1000 BC as one of the only remaining of the 6 paradise of Earth. And that's the biggest telluric energy project in the world.
The biggest what?
Telluric energy project in the world. It's the mountain of Sintra.
Okay, this is
so they transform. Are you aware of Lord of the Rings? So you can easily understand what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, look behind me.
Okay, so you remember the gift of Galadriel to Sam?
Yes, yeah.
That little dust. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So you have 2 rich people completely immersed in the occult going to Sintra and competing with one another. So you imagine a mountain that is completely bare to the rock. It's just dust. Not even sheep or goats have anything to eat there. Okay. And in about 12 to 16 years, you have a tropical forest with things coming from Madagascar, United States, Venezuela, Brazil, Australia, all kinds of vegetation taken from multiple places. And in 12 years, you have a tropical forest completely grown with a canopy that changed the complete weather of the surroundings, in a mountain that is completely holed with tunnels underneath. Some of them have more than 6 miles.
Wow.
And they connect several parts of the mountain. In fact, it is so sacred to the old guys, to the Templars and to the Moorish priests, that when Gualdin Pais, the major Templar of Portugal, that raised the king that eventually gave them the country, that is Afonso Henriques, when they get there to conquer, it is the only time where Moorish troops and Templar troops, or knight troops as you want to call it, choose not to fight. None of them dare to drop a drop of blood on that sacred ground. None of them. So what happened is they took one of the longest tunnels from the castle on top of the mountain to 3 localities down the road, and you see the tunnel has to go down from the 600 meters in height. That is, well, 200 meters is 666 feet. So it's 3 times that, okay? To go down, and then to go to the other place is another 6 miles to get there.
Underground.
Underground, in a time where we don't have drilling skills to do such a thing.
Yeah.
But the whole mountain is hauled. So that connects every single building of the area.
I had no idea that there. I just learned about that site from your channel, and then I learned I didn't know that there had even had 6 miles worth of tunnels during a time where we.
No. There's more than 60 miles of tunnels under there. Some of them are 6 miles long.
Wow. Yeah, and that seems to show up in all over the world, like in Turkey as well. There's in Egypt.
No, it's different. It's different than Turkey. In Turkey, you have underground cities.
Okay, these are just tunnels.
These just tunnels with small chambers and water reservoirs that increase the telluric energy effects for specific purposes. So they used something like you call today electroculture that can yield up to 400-600% the production of any kind of small agriculture or large agriculture. So they use that to grow the forest as even the dust of Galadriel was spread through the country. That's what I was circling back to what I was saying.
Yes.
So with that research on that energy, you're saying they're doing research on that now?
No. What we know is that when the Templars decided that Portugal would be their country,
yes,
they had already in mind, even before the first. So this is how it happened. The illegitimate daughter of the king of Spain at that time was called Catalonia, or I can't remember the name right now. I'm saying nonsense, but it was what Spain is today. Okay, right. So he didn't want the illegitimate daughter nagging his shoe. I want this. I want that. I want it. So he threw to the corner of the kingdom, and that corner of the kingdom is a place called Porto Cale. That was a port that still has a wine today. If you look for Porto Cale, it's still a port wine that is still sold today. It's one of the most famous wines in the world. So he gave them means for her to support herself, to don't depend on him, to don't nag him, and arrange a marriage with an influenced guy from another royal family. The problem was the son that they had, called Afonso Henriques, was born with crippled legs. So no successor, and on those days, it means that you better put him to death than allow him to grow. But then comes this guy, this Gualdin Pais, the leader of the Templars for this area, and perhaps one of the biggest in that ever was in the Templars' history. And he says, let's do this. You give me the child, and if I heal him, you'll give me a part of the territory. Because he already tried that before, and although they managed, then the king of the real king of the nation rejected it. So he turned again, and he took the child. And 2 weeks later, he appears with the child completely healed. So where did he heal it? How did he heal it? Okay. So, and he said, I did this, but now the child is mine. I will raise this child. And so Afonso Henriques would grow up to be a mighty man that hold a sword that weighed at least, so I have to multiply it by 2, at least 20 pounds, but it's supposed to be up to 35 pounds, just the sword.
That's
you have to
sword.
Just the sword. And then you have to put the armor that is the weight of the full armor is about another also 40 kilos, another 80 pounds, at least 90 pounds. Okay. And these people run with these things on. Okay. So that's how mighty of men these people were. And this guy, this child, when he reached the age of 11, he goes to Spain, to the most famous Templar or most important Templar church at the time, and knighted himself. Okay, with 11 years old, he knighted himself So, as a clear challenge to the king, saying, I don't recognize anyone above me, so there's no one who can knight me. Only I can. You see, this is 11-year-old boy. Okay. So he then returns home and says his mother, this is all mine now. And he starts bashing everything and everyone and conquering territory like never before. And he expanded the territory about 300 kilometers south with the clear intention to reach Sintra and take the mountain, because the Templars already knew that in the mountain there was these tunnels and these 2 initiation wells that they want to take over. These 2 initiation wells are now today inside an estate that is called Regaleira, from a very wealthy man, a Portuguese that made his fortune in Brazil. And when he came back, he was so obsessed by the occult that he joined all these, the Rosicrucians, the Merovingians, the Templars, the Masons. He joined every inch of his building. If you put an image of Regaleira, you try to put it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Every single inch of the architecture is symbolic. So it's quite impressive.
How do you spell that? Sorry.
Regaleir.
Oh yeah, there it is. The palace. Yeah, I've never seen this before, so that's exciting. Oh, I've seen this, but still, I'm going to share it so the audience can see.
So the Templars stopped midway in created the Convento de Tomar, where they made what is called a roundabout in English, and that roundabout had an underground, as always.
This thing.
That's the initiation well that was restored by that man.
Okay.
And that you have another one unrestored that I was illegally went down this year, but by mistake. It was an honest mistake. That's why I say it. It was an honest mistake. We never thought that the 2 tunnels, the 2 wells, were connected.
Oh.
So the line to go to that first wall. Look, that wall has a 4-ton slab that you can push with 1 finger.
Where?
It's perfectly
in this estate.
Yep.
Has a 4-ton slab you can push with 1 finger.
With 1 finger. Okay.
What?
Like Coral Castle.
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
The same kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So the line was more than an hour, just went down the stairs to go to the well. So I said to Guy, look, let's go and search for the old unrestored well, because we even have more interest in that one. Okay. And we this is not big, and we took an hour to find it. Okay. That's how things are hidden inside this estate.
Right.
But we did find it. And when we found it, there was people down there, but there was a sign saying forbidden the passage to go down. But there was people down there, some kids taking photos and so on. And we saw these kids, they pushed this, because the barrier was slightly to the side. These kids pushed the barrier and went down. So misbehavior, no respect for rules, and always keeping looking, okay, we should do the same. If they are there,
Of course.
we can do also. So we decided to went down because there's people down there. We see different people coming and going, people coming and going.
It was loud, right?
And we thought, well, if these people did it, we can do it also. So we went it down. And when we reached down there, we realized that is the end of the tour of the main well. So it's lots of underground tunnels, and one of them ends there. You are not allowed to go up or down because it ends there. You can look up and see the sky. So we went all the way, we went the wrong way, but at least we didn't wait for an hour to get down there. But it's quite an impressive place, and it actually speaks of what I named my video. There is places of power and places of magic, because they transform a place of power into a place of magic. You have all the occultists of the world in their last persecution during the 18th century. They all united in this mountain. So imagine the amount of arcane energy of absorbing these telluric capabilities of this location, all working to create their own ritualistic and purposes. In fact, if you've seen the movie The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp, You find out that the book they're looking for on occultism is in an old estate in Sintra. So,
oh right, yes, right. Now that I haven't seen that movie in 20 plus years. Right. They even filmed some of it there, right?
Yeah, they filmed it there.
Yeah. The whole. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
So having gone down that passageway, did that count as initiation? Did you become initiated after that?
No, but you see how they did it. For instance, there is a very beautifully carved water basin before the entrance into the well, the initiating well, which seems that it all is part of the ritual. And then on the ground you have you showed it in the image. You have in Portuguese is Rosa dos Ventos. In English is the wheel that shows all directions on a map.
Compass rose.
Yes, exactly. You have a compass rose on the bottom, and you have several. Yeah, there you can see it.
Which figure do you want me to click on? Or
anyone that has the bottom, that one, for instance.
Oh yeah,
yep.
Boom.
Okay. So the water basin, do you see the doorway on the left? The water basin is right on there. So the funny thing about this is this follows everything, as for instance you saw in the Egyptian temple that is in the Giza. That is, you go down into the darkness, you die, you are awake at dawn, and come back to life through water into the life. Into the light, because you go down with sunset, you go down the tunnel in complete darkness, you are placed inside a stone coffin, you are left there as a dead man, and then you are awaked before dawn, taken through water as a birth into the light of the rising sun. So this ritual has been repeated so many times through so many different civilizations, so many different cultures, that it means that there is a line of thought that kept this ritualistic belief through time, through thousands and thousands of years. It must mean something.
And that's where the handshake comes in, right? There's a handshake that you don't find out until you come out through the water, and that's the one. Is that
I didn't know that, but it's probable. They have so many symbology attached to their. They overcomplicate it so that the different sects have something to say. We are different, and I like better that way.
Have you ever heard of Timothy Hogan? He's an American who claims to be the head of a Knight Templar lineage.
No, but I will look at that name.
Okay, I would be very curious to hear your thoughts. I just listened to a 3+ hour conversation of him on one of the podcasts I like. Timothy Hogan.
Hogan, okay.
He just did an appearance on the Danny Jones podcast, so that might be a good place to.
That was the one, and he was describing the rituals you were just speaking of, and he talked about the handshake at that part, and so Danny kind of pressed him about the handshake for a moment.
Where did they do similar thing in Egypt?
I didn't say the name because, as I told you, I'm terrible with names, but I think it's the Osirum.
Okay, that's what I thought. I brought, so the reason why I even thought of that was because Brian Forster, I'm just going to play it quick, shared a video on one of his tours in Egypt. This guy going down into the Osiris shaft, into the water. I just wanted to show that quick as we're talking about this. He's not doing the ritual, but I can't believe they talked this guy into doing this. I wouldn't.
Well, he's in the safest environment he could possibly be on Earth. He's inside structured water, living water. See how the water moves. That's not water.
Yeah, it's definitely moving weird.
This is structured water, also called living water, because the Osiris shaft is one of the few places on the Earth that is completely autonomous in its working of frequencies. If you go and check my paper, The Frequencies of the Osiris Shaft, you see that I recreated this in a 3D model and then asked a supercomputer to calculate all the frequencies. And the result is the water of the bottom that is completely free of impurities. I didn't know if you know that.
I didn't know. I really
it's completely purest as you can get.
I want to read your article now. We'll do that for your next appearance on the show if you want to come back on.
Sure. So that water creates the frequency that creates structured water, creates hexagonal shapes on the water. Those hexagonal shapes fit so well together that they don't allow any kind of impurity. So that's what is called the holy water. That's the real origin of that concept.
So
Because when
That's
you place this water in a water basin, if how can I explain you? I don't know the name. Can you search for a paper called the St. Michael's Line?
yes.
You'll see a church, and that's my best example of what I'm talking about. So you pick up this structured water, this living water, and you put it on a basin. That basin is connected to the structure and to the bedrock itself. There you have it.
Is that it?
St. Michael, England. You just need to find the main church of it.
So it looks like it's on the very tip of England. We want to zoom in on the church.
No, it's not on the tip. On the tip, you have small stone circles that still today are radioactive. You cannot stay inside of them. They are dangerous to health. Seriously.
Is this what you mean?
Exactly. So I'm going to give you the actual name of the church.
Okay.
I just have to go through my papers. Just give me a second.
No
So
worries.
I was saying, so you pick up this structured water and you put it on a water basin. As we've seen in so many megalithic sites, like the Tarxian temples, where you have a massive marble or high crystal content stone with you can put 8 people around it. You go to Newgrange, you find exactly the same thing in between 2 different cultures, 2 different times, and I gotta concentrate on getting this. So desktop.
No worries, take your time.
Okay, desktop.
For those of you guys watching, if you like this content, like and subscribe. Check us out on X, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. I don't think we're live on
How about the
Rumble.
giveaway? How about the giveaway that we're doing?
Oh yeah, the giveaway. I wanted to plug one more time. We're doing a giveaway of Jesse Coomer. He signed 2 books. We've got 2 more days left. What are the names of the books again? It's the language of no, it's not. Oh yeah, it's a practical guide to breathwork, and one of his other ones. He signed both of them. And if you go to our Instagram page, you can join. You can sign up to get a free copy of the book, and free 2 signed copies of the book will be mailed to you. There's 2 more days left to enter. You got to enter by midnight on the 20th, and then we're doing our draw for the winter solstice, which is the 21st. So there's us on Instagram in the chat, Mike Dave's Multiverse. Go on over there and enter our giveaway. See if you can get a copy of 2 books to learn how to control your breathing and enhance your physical performance and your mental and physical well-being, and also to learn more about Jesse.
Yeah, support our friend Jesse.
Yep. He was our third episode. All right, so it looks like we got the church pulled up here.
Yeah,
it's just taking a guess. But yeah, I look. Penzance is the name of this town.
Just pick up a PDF. Right, the Spine of Albion PDF.
The spine. You on that, Mike? Yeah, so check us out on Instagram for the giveaway and like and subscribe. And thanks again, Ricardo, for coming on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all the way from Portugal, which is definitely on my list now because I didn't know the megalithic history there.
Did you say you sent us a PDF that I should open? Or I just found this book, The Spine of Albion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted you to go on until you see the diagram of a church.
All right. Oh, it looks like this might be a preview. I'm searching on the internet.
Oh, okay. Is there somewhere I can send you an image?
Do you have access to the private chat? You should. It should be on the bottom left of your screen.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, because I think you should.
Well, I can share the screen.
Go for it. Yeah, Ricardo does have a YouTube channel. Thank you, Piano Andante. He has 2 YouTube channels. He has the History, Myths, and Legends, and he has the Institute for Natural Philosophy, 2 YouTube channels. Go ahead.
And the Quantum Akashic Network. Well, the institute is not mine alone, right? Mine
right.
is the Quantum Akashic Network and the History, Myths, and Legends.
Can you spell the other one so we can put it on there?
Quantum Akashic Network.
Okay, yeah, got it.
I'm not sure if I'm sharing or not.
Oops.
Yeah,
Sharing.
I am. Yeah,
I just hit stop. I was going to throw up the Quantum Akashic Network. But
yeah. Is he sharing? I'm looking for something right now.
all we have to do is let it in since we're the moderators. There we go.
Okay, are you doing it?
If you want me to stop sharing, I can.
No, we're good. We're good. We can see the yes.
I found you. Are we waiting on me, or what happened?
We've got the plan of Marianne Ellen Currents inside the church is up. Yes.
I thought you were doing some kind of announcement. So look.
I will really quick, though. I did put Ricardo's other YouTube channel in the chat, the Quantum Akashic Network. So go ahead and check that out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So in a very famous telluric line, that is the St. Michael's, if I'm not mistaken, you find this church. This church is placed exactly where 2 telluric lines connect.
Okay.
And you note that the water basins were even turned a little bit from the center just to be able to be on the exact point where the telluric line passes. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not.
We can.
Yes,
yeah.
we can see it.
Okay, and the other one is here. So you have a building that was placed on top of an ancient structure that was built there because of the geomagnetic characteristics, using the correct type of stone, meaning mineralogy, with the underground waterways, with the creation of the necessary hypogeums when they are necessary to create the modulations of the frequencies. But that's not so simple, because how do you tune a frequency inside a structure for different purposes? This is how you do it. You use this living water, this structured water inside these stone basins that are basically crystalline vessels that are connected to the mother ground. And then in kinetic images, you can see what kind of energies are you inputting into the structure with chanting, with instruments, in a system that has been denominated by archaeoacoustic researchers as the trident of frequencies, because it's not one frequency. You introduce one lower frequency that is infrasound, you introduced another frequency that is in the middle range, and you introduce a third frequency that is in the beyond what we can hear. So we can hear from 16 or 20 to 20,000 hertz.
Okay.
So everything beneath 16 hertz or 20 hertz, for most people, we cannot hear it. So that's infrasound. Then you have our reach of sound. There is the middle tone. And then you have the, help me out, please, because I don't remember. Ultrasound, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you combine the 3 frequencies, you start creating standing waves. A standing wave is a wave of sound that is actually stopped. It doesn't move. It stays exactly as it is. It's like a wave that it's not a wave at all. So when that happens, things start to actually happening. So in this case, but what I was focusing is how to tune it. How do you know you're doing the right frequency? And that is done by the water, that structured water. That's what connected me to this. On these water basins that we today see commonly on churches.
That is incredible. So you're saying the choir director, he's leading rehearsals before the service, and he's hearing, you guys sound a little out of tune. He walks over to the water basin and observes
that's not what I'm saying.
Pattern. No. I'm just imagining here. But, you can use the cymatic pattern to tell.
But if you are doing a ritual in the days where the church is not open to the public, you see the difference between a megalithic structure and a church or a cathedral is that the megalithic structure is made to work inside and to radiate outside. A church or a cathedral is made to contain all the power within, nothing to the outside. Okay, so when they're performing their rituals, when they spend this magnificent constructions in the warm period of these cathedrals, this all work of construction of taking pagan sites where ancient megalithic structures were, they were trying to harness this energy, and they also needed to learn how to do it. For instance, you know what a pipe organ in a church is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those massive instruments, they are built specifically because there was no instrument capable of creating the frequencies they wanted to create the rituals. So it needed an instrument that was capable of creating the bass, the middle, and the ultrasound. And they concentrated all in a very complicated instrument that you play with your feet, with your hands, and has very pools that change the tones in the frequency, because this involves modulation, involves creating the specific frequency. It creates creating the specific standing wave. And what happens to these tuners that goes to these sites and tune these pianos is they record their tuning. And what happens when they reach home, they find that the tuning that they record is not the tuning that they get. Why? Because the resonance within these churches, when they achieve the correct frequencies, when they're playing Bach that was purposely made for this or that church, when they're creating these frequencies, the church itself creates its own melody. And that melody is added to the tune and makes the fourth frequency. And that's when things may start to happen. So these are living buildings, actually, as the megalithic structures were.
We've got a question in the chat from Piano Andante. He said, "What would they do with the harvested energy?" I think I guess he's
okay. If you look at a paper called "The City of Alatri: A New Archaeoacoustic Approach," you'll see that they have a camera that is capable of detecting molecule, the movement of air molecules. Okay, and the movement of air molecules occurs because of magnetic energies. So the first thing they noticed is that that city has 9 gates, all of them orientated to celestial objects. And in all of those gates, and I'm not kidding, okay, this is not fringe science, this is actual science with paper reviewed. This is actually true. They found a magnetic vortex in each one of the 9 gates that are original, but none on the 10th gate that was built afterwards recently, okay? And this magnetic vortices, imagine exactly a spiral galaxy. That's exactly what it is. They tune your brain into a hive mind state that connects everyone that enters that city. So when you had the ancient structure on that city, because Alatri is very old, when you have the original structure, that hive mind was power enough for people to know everything about you. So if you are distressed, they will feel it. If there was something in danger, they will feel it. If someone was happy, they will feel it. So that creates a state of mind where everyone is somehow connected, because the structure itself was amplifying that effect. That still happens with the church, but it's very minimalized. The thing is, when they put that camera, now answering to the gentleman that made a question, when they put that camera inside, every single vortex within the structure, every crest, every dimple was filled with magnetic energy. So it all contained inside that church. So if activated, who knows who can be created? For instance, in the book that I will present later still this year, but later on, I will show people how all these theories can accumulate to manipulations of time, of space, of consciousness, of recording rituals into the stone itself that can be accessed, how these sites are all connected via the crystalline veins of the earth. So during these rituals, if you connect a place, no matter how distant, if you tune the frequencies, it doesn't matter space and time, because they are both in the same frequency. They're both tuned together and so interconnected, there is no distance between them. When you go to the paper, speaking from Steve Marshall of the West Kenneth Long Barrow, you put a 14-year-old child inside the first room on the left, and you outside are playing the drum at 480 beats per minute. The child that was in complete darkness, started to see the stones slightly glow dark. And I also explained that on the book, how that can happen scientifically. It's too for me to explain right now. Then
piezoelectric.
It is piezoelectric, yes, but it is piezoelectric that is not only by pressure.
Yep.
For instance, in the beginning of my research, I asked several AI, how can I create a piezoelectric effect in a sarsen stone without using pressure? And they all refused to answer because it was too dangerous for me to attempt it or for anyone to find out how to do it. So
sound is just a vibration of pressure, right? So
no, it's sound. Sound can create the pressure needed, in addition to the orthostats being pressuring the sarsens down. So when excited, the sound creates a standing wave very easily inside of West Kennett Long Barrel. Yep. The child started to see an opening on the side of the wall that leads nowhere because there's no other room. He saw the other side of the room. He closed his eyes in fear, and 2 times he felt the presence of someone that respected that he didn't want to be bothered, and went away and didn't return. Okay, so what did the academic do, this Steve Marshall, in face of this astonishing report from a 14-year-old boy that was both scared? I was going to say something rude, I won't, but was really scared and astonished at the same time. He decided to replicate the experiment, but take out the drums, put headphones, and use the binaural sound because he thought people would be fooled by the fact, I'm using a binaural sound that has nothing to do, it doesn't resonate with the site.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the site didn't like it. So the guy that is capable of saying exactly the dimensions of the chamber, because he's known for reaching an old site and say, this is 2x4 and that is 6x9. And when they go and measure, it's exactly as it's old, with very minimum differences. And he reports, I was thrown away 4 meters into the air in a chamber that has only 2. Okay. So he was thrown 3 times, 4 meters in the air, and he said it was quite alarming at the first time, but then I got used to it. So the thing is, he comes out of the experience. To me, it was the site saying, you're not using the correct keys, so I'm going to reject you. Okay.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
So when he comes out of this and writes the conclusion of the paper, he says, it's an interesting trick of the mind that has nothing to do with reality. So how? Look, I created a program, a field study to go there and exactly replicate these conditions with several people with different backgrounds, with ECG connected to the brains, all the equipment, cameras to see if it happens in the mind's person or it is physical. If it happens in the mind person, can it still be real? Can still people go and explore and talk to someone and learn something as an ayahuasca experience or a DMT experience, but without it? So if it is real, what can we learn on the other side? So what is on the other room, and where is the other room on the world? Or if it is on the world or is anywhere else? So this is all questions. I'm not saying that it's real. I'm saying that these need to be tested. So I made the complete I follow every single protocol. I put every single piece of equipment, every single discipline and university group that I needed to be there to confirm the findings. And they are the experts on all these different fields. You know how much it costs? 140,000.
Oh, gosh.
And if I take the equipment, let's say that the universities and the teams take their own equipment to do all the research that I think it's needed to get to the bottom of this, it gets down to 60,000 euros. So, and I'm only putting 3 people on my team which stay. That's all I'm putting. The rest is all the things that I needed.
All right. 60, but have you reached out to like the California Institute for Human Sciences with Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove? That's the type of institute that maybe they would be, or the Monroe Institute. I'm thinking somebody might be interested in helping out.
Elon, where you at, Elon?
Yeah, the thing is, if I pass everything that is needed, what is keeping those people to do it without me?
It's true. It's true.
It's not that I want the credit, but I want to be there and see it go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess you're kind of on your way there by starting your own institute, right?
Yeah, that's, well, look, the magazine, our merchandising, it's all intended to fund our traveling, our expenses, and our equipment to be able to test these things all around the world. You know, in the Hal Saflieri Hypogeum in Malta, there is about 600 feet from the Tarxian temples. By the way, did you know that in the Tarxian temples, in the corridor that leads to the main chamber, you have these orthostats that are vertically slabs of stone that have dimples in it? Okay. And this guy that was studying the archaeoacoustic with proper equipment there realized that there is something coming from the stones. So he couldn't hear anything. So he put his hand like this. If he clenched his fist and put his hand inside the dimple, and you know what he found? You know the subwoofer that you have bumping? You feel the air pressure coming at your hand? He felt exactly that. So he bring the microphone, and that is producing frequency that will, when it had the ceiling, which now it doesn't, so the sound is lost in the air. But when it was a closed chamber, you were tuned all the way to the main chamber, and your mind was already prepared to what you were going to face down there. So it is like Star Wars, but without lasers. It's all sound. It was a corridor of sound barriers. And this is all on the paper. Again, it's not science fiction. It's reality. It's tested by science. It just doesn't. They don't recognize its importance.
Oh, but this reminds me. This is very similar to something I read about in the biography of Thomas Townsend Brown, which I read this summer. He was a Navy physicist in the 1940s and 50s. Interesting times, and he worked on something very similar to that: a microphone which could transmit sound wirelessly. And it all had to do with the arrangement. If you had them attuned properly, sound would travel. If you were standing in between, you'd have no idea. Very similar. Interesting.
Let me tell you two things. The first one, as I was saying, the Al Saflieni Hypogeum. Even during Greek times, people were paying to sleep there, and they tell us it was the place of the dead. Who is going to pay lots of people coming from foreign parts to sleep in the Hypogeum? You know why they say they were sleeping there? Because the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum has very specific conditions to resonance and frequency, and the oracle room has a specific hole where people speak, and you can understand if you are close to the hole, but if you are further away from the hole, you just hear gibberish, because sound is so disconstructed that you cannot understand what is being said. It's like magic words to those that are in another room. So, but that's beside the point. The point is, people were paying there because it was a library of information. People had a problem that they want to have a solved. They were not asking an oracle. That's an illusion. They were sleeping there, and in their dreams there came the answer, because the site itself has a background of information of all the things that he experienced and recorded. And the site will tell them in dreams and ideas. In fact, it's still today, people that visit them, and even the researchers that did different ones that did archaeoacoustics there, they prove from several candidates that people get ideas, visions, images, concepts by just staying there, let alone to sleep there. So, and regarding Mike, what you said, just to finish, I know I talk a lot, so sorry.
No, you're doing great, man. We really appreciate it.
In West Kennet long barrow, you have also the West Kennet short barrow. There is 666 feet apart. We just land between the two. The thing is, if you speak inside a specific chamber in the West Kennet long barrow, the sound will come at the same level on the short barrow chamber coming from the ceiling. So how do you transmit sound 660 feet apart when you have massive walls of stone protecting each site and mounds of earth on top of it, and the sound reaches the other point at the same level that it was transmitted? So what happens is this. I look for geological features. I look for buried stones. And so this is how they did it. According to new underground mapping areas, they put stones connecting the base of one chamber to the bedrock. From the bedrock on the other side, they put the same mineralogy stones connected to the base of the other floor. And since they both have a round ceiling, a spherical ceiling, what happens is the sound on one side is projected to the ground, it bounces to the ceiling, it goes through there, reaches the other side, comes out of the ground, bounces the ceiling, and the person that is there thinks the sound is coming from the ceiling. It's God talking to me, where it's the one guy talking on the other chamber on the other side. So, but I give you more. You have the island of Lampedusa, where you have a temple right in front of it that I can't remember the name right now. And that guy that was studying it in archaeoacoustics found that the temple was built exactly as an 833 hertz antenna.
Ooh.
And the antenna was directed to a place in Lampedusa Island. But Lampedusa Island is 60 kilometers away through water. So we tried to test if sound could be projected from one place to the other on the island, where you find a semicircle that is completely aligned to that temple, 60 kilometers through water. How do you align that? How do you align that? Okay. So, and what he found out is that when you emit sound on top of water, sounds turn to, normally the sound wave that is like this would become stretched, so the volume is getting down and information is being lost. The problem, the curiosity here is, when you project it over water, the coolness of the water will make the sound compact, so it will reach the 60-kilometer distance with the same level of volume that it left the temple, because the water will keep pressing the wave at the same rate that it's trying to stretch itself. So you have a global communication system, because on the other side of the island, there's another semicircle pointed to Africa, and so on. So when you look at ancient maps, you see all these towers all around. If you look for the Catalan Atlas, you'll find all these towers. That the only thing that changes on the tower is the type of religion. So Christians have one type of top, and the Muslims have another type of top. Apart from that, the structures are exactly the same. And those towers are all connected via waterways or some other kind, like this in Lampedusa and the temple in Malta. So these systems of communication were already, how should I put it, not as advanced as the megalithic could have been, because the megalithic used the crystalline veins of the earth itself.
Yep.
But it's still working at the same rate. So they didn't need radios. They didn't need to go across from horses, because sound was doing it all. You have Groparello in Italy, a castle that was unconquered for 600 years, because they have an hypogeum with a tower that then was built even larger by the Romans. And it produced an infra frequency to those outside the bubble of protection that the tower also creates through the trident of frequencies. And this is not, I'm not saying mumbo jumbo. I'm actually speaking about what you can go and read in papers, okay? So these people couldn't get to the tower to conquer the castle, because they suffered loss of limb control, visions of terror, sickness, disorientation. So the same type of technology. Syndrome. Yeah, the same type of technology that was tried by the Russians during the Cold War, just that they found on the battlefield that it disorientated as long the enemy as themselves, so they could stop using it, because it affected everyone. So no one fought. So it's completely real.
Flash damage.
We've got another question from Piano Andante there. He's asking if this is the same type of wave signal that G. Marconi used. Do you know who G. Marconi is?
G. Marconi was the creator of what? The telegraph? Was it? I'm not sure. I'm going to look
he was in the Edison and Tesla days. He was right there with Edison and Tesla.
Yeah, I guess I'm unsure.
I don't know. I'm sorry, but I really don't know.
Yeah. So is that with the compressing and the lengthening of the wave? That's what creates the standing wave, then? Correct?
No. The standing wave is created by being in an environment that doesn't allow the wave going anywhere. So that's why you need the stones with certain thickness, the certain mineralogy. And once you introduce several frequencies, they start mingling with one another, and they reach the point they get stable. And when they get stable, they become standing waves. So
And then
have you ever heard of the Bear Bar caves in India?
Yes.
I think those caves were a part of the network. They were recently uncovered.
Yes.
It's perfectly hemispherical with high precision, carved out of stone. Maybe there's a receiving set of caves somewhere else in the Indian subcontinent that's linked to the Bear Bar caves. Who knows?
Look, I think sound is the missing link for us to understand all the other aspects that are connected, from mineralogy to telluric energies to cosmic alignments to the type of mineralogy used. To, for instance, you have places in Spain, and they found some in Utah, by the way, that are using echo. Okay, these are very, very old sites, and what they found is in this. There are like a parabolic shape on the side of a cliff. They would enhance these parabolical shapes and test them for echo. So what these researchers found, equally in England, in Spain, Spain, France, and the United States, is that you could communicate with your tribe or your hunters even if they are beyond the horizon. So if some of them are in danger, they could call out in the direction of the cliff, and the guy seated on that parabolical shape would hear the message. And if they need to message some warriors that are far away, for instance, they could just speak to the cliff, and then they would hear out there in the fields. So they knew it. In fact, they looked for lots and lots of these re-entrances in the cliff. And the funny thing is, only those with pictographs worked. Those without the pictographs didn't work. So they marked them. It's an older technology that they found. They needed to mark them, but I don't know which one is. Oh, this works. Let's make a drawing here.
Yep.
So we know this is the one. So
that was like the billboard for the FM radio station. If you're standing right there, you're 93.7. If you go up, you're at 98.5.
Yes. Yeah, so frequency is the basis of string theory. Are you into string theory? Like is that part of? How does that fit into your how you look at this?
The string theory lost me when I started researching about the brains. Mm-hmm. And the brains are supposed to be this viscous type of matter that is not physical and yet can separate the different help me out here, the dimensions. Mm-hmm. So then they put 6 dimensions, then they upgraded to 8, then they upgraded to 13. 11. I think now it's 13. Yeah. And you need all these brains together to create the universe. Mm-hmm. So again, I think like Rupert Sheldrake says, they are playing with things that they don't understand. So it's like you buy a kit of Lego and give it to your dog. He will play with it.
Yeah,
he will play with it, but the fact that it works with him doesn't mean that that's how they are supposed to work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess the reason I asked the question was, they say that the basis of the universe is these vibrating strings, right? And I guess in a lot of your work coming out is in a lot like what you're talking about is how they're using frequency to, use on these ancient sites to, I guess enhance or augment human ability already.
I would say functionalize.
Functionalize, okay.
Because you see, the effort required to fetch stones that sometimes are 600 kilometers away.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly that stone? They have the same kind of size, not the mineralogy, but they have the same kind of size at 10 minutes from the site. So why to go 600 kilometers just to get these stones for there? Then you have the location. You don't find a location that is trivial. All the locations means that they have a very high knowledge of dowsing, of finding these telluric energies, of knowing where the underground waters were, because it's essential to have underground water. If they don't have it, they turn rivers to create this kind of things. For instance, in that Catalan atlas, you'll see that every single structure has a river, and they are, as my friend Phil taught me, it's never on the straits. It's always on the bending on the river that you find these ancient structures, because it's there that the energy will concentrate. So all of this reveals that there is more than just ritualistic purpose.
Sure.
There is clear intention from the beginning to the end, and an array so enormous of multidisciplinary knowledge that is needed to create just a dolmen or a tholos, or this like the West Kenneth Long Barrow, this barrows, that's the name I'm looking for. It shows that then their knowledge was far ahead of what we understand.
Right. And one thing we never even brought up yet, I mean, obviously, they must understand engineering and geology and chemistry and all kinds of different things, resonance. But they also had a understanding of the cosmos to like a very fine degree. And all these sites, or a lot of them anyway, are aligned with, certain constellations and stuff. And I wanted to ask, how does that fit in? Just as far as you're saying, they have basically a 360-degree understanding of the universe. And
I cannot answer that, but I can give you at least some idea of my notion.
Yeah,
is that in every research, the energies of the site not only change, they are enhanced during these alignments. So each time of the year where you reach that point of alignment, the site will be excited on that day. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Piano asked the same question. He's the guy who's been with us this whole time. He asked, how does cosmology fit in? And I think that was the short version of the long question I asked, which is...
Yes, as I told in the beginning, once this technology of telluric energies, water, and frequency is all connected, it's irrelevant where you are or what time you are, because you can research this yourself. You just ask any AI that has the capability to answer you. If you tuned a frequency to the point where you modulate several frequencies to the point of creating a temporal breach, and it doesn't matter, because once you step out of this reality, it's like that black hole. Where is everything going? That is a breach in our reality, because it's bleeding somewhere, and the fact that it's bleeding somewhere means that there's something else. There's no other way. So everything is energy, everything transforms, everything is sound, everything is frequency, but it still has to transform into something and to somewhere. So if you don't see it, it might be bleeding to somewhere else. And with these sites, that's what I envision, is that at the top of the list of things you can do on an ancient site, in case of the Osiris shaft, it was a healing facility, or at least could work as such. If you read the paper, I think I documented it very well enough with all our current knowledge of sound and frequency in healing. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you have a broken leg, with the same kind of environment that you find on the Osiris shaft used on a clinic, you reduce the trauma from, let's imagine you have 6 months of recovery, you can recover in 4 weeks.
I can speak on this directly because I had shockwave therapy done on a tendon in my ankle, and it actually, nothing was working on this tendon in my ankle, nothing except for the shockwave therapy. I must say, insurance companies will not pay for shockwave therapy. Imagine that. I had to pay for it out of pocket. But I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Almost like they can't trademark the frequency that they were using to help you.
Well, in the Osiris shaft, they were using what academics call sarcophagus, or stone that are made of granite. Okay. Well, one of the things they don't talk is that Egyptians used a kind of limestone. Well, I thought limestone had no crystal content. So I wonder how these sites have limestone. If limestone has no crystal content, it doesn't have piezoelectric effects. It's all about reflection of sound, because there's no other property on it. But then I found out that the Egyptians used a type of stone that's called crystalline limestone. It is still crystalline, and I'm going to show you. I'm not sure, my camera is not the best, but I took this is big one. I took these chunks of quartz. Let me see if I can get a good angle from the light. It reflects so much light, it almost looks like I have a meteor in my hand.
That's good. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So this chunk that comes with this chunk, I have a lot of this. I took this from limestone. I found in the construction site, we received a lot of stones that are just for the foundations. And within one of those blocks, there was this massive block of pure quartz. There's nothing in it. It's just quartz. It's just quartz. And I took it away, and I found it very interesting because I never thought of limestone as having crystal, but
or having a reflective property either. In some of those, like the limestone in Egypt, they polished it in a way that it reflects really well. And it's almost and then they'll go and they'll scratch some scratch some hieroglyphs on it. But especially like in the Serapeum, those bad boys are polished perfectly. And so you're saying that sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid is limestone as well? It's just crystal.
No. The sarcophagus normally are granite.
Okay, yeah.
Now, wise people, they wouldn't make it of limestone.
Right. Serapeums are granite as well. I watched. There's the Canadian mixed martial artist. His name is George St. Pierre. He traveled to Egypt with a YouTuber I like named Jimmy Corsetti from Bright Insight, and they were able to go inside and lay down in the sarcophagi in the Great Pyramid. And this is you've probably heard this a million times, but you hear this a lot. People, sort of having, almost a psychedelic experience inside those sarcophagi.
Yes, because it changes your brain.
The
dormant state of the king's chamber produced the kind of waves that allow you to have those kind of experiences. And if you are inside the sarcophagus, it's still amplified further. But I didn't fully answer your question. Inside the Osiris shaft, they were using that structured water, because if you read the paper, I at first thought they were using salt water, the ocean water that has healing properties that will help along with the young ointments or the creams that they will apply to heal with the linen wrapped around the injury and so on. Yeah. And I thought about ocean water, but at the finding of what it was at the bottom of the shaft, that's living water, that structured water that is down there, I tried to find what were the uses for medicine of structured water, and it turns out that it can permeate the skin like nothing we know. So if you put the healing ointments on linen and you are immersed in structured water inside those granite boxes, that's what I've called them, boxes, with that water, and you are immersed in it, they close the lid and the whole frequencies of the site will heal yourself. So that on the middle level, you have different chambers with different sarcophagus. Each chamber has a different frequency, so meaning a different treatment. So from emotional to serious trauma, everything could be dealt. And if you go to the bottom level where the water is, the healing box that is down there, only the lid is atop the water. So you are completely immersed on the water itself, and has 4 granite pillars around that sarcophagus that make me think that some kind of electric arc was going on with. So that's why they lead it to the resurrection of Osiris.
I wonder, in some of these sites, it's a combination of the actual structure, the place on Earth that it's at, but you were also talking about the ritual being conducted by the humans, right? Like, so if you're going into the Osiris shaft, or you're going
It
into,
doesn't need it. You don't remember. I told you the Osiris shaft is the only autonomous site that I know. You can keep the frequencies on its own because of those pipes. Remember what you showed the image?
yep,
Those pipes keep pumping the air up and down and create a frequency.
right. But in the king's chamber, would you need to do like a ritual or something, or?
In the king's chamber, you have the portcullis.
Uh-huh.
It was 3 slabs of stone that go up and down through a mechanism, and that allowed the difference of air coming in and out, and that can modulate the frequency.
Okay.
So the pyramids were known in the ancient times as the singing pyramids, and there is a tale of a guy coming from a distance, and he was already hearing the thump of the pyramids. So if you fill the bottom of the pyramid with water, the mechanism itself of the air working will create a thump, 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 like a drum playing at whatever frequency you want. So if you control the air from the portcullis, you control the frequency you want. That's why, for instance, the the sea people never managed to invade Egypt. The only time they managed to do it, they had to sabotage the functioning of the pyramids, because it was like Groperello Castle. They couldn't get near it.
Right.
So they blocked a passage of water into the pyramid. The sound was ceased, and they managed almost to get to the city, but then they unblocked the water, and they were immediately retreating. So this is a vague point on history that is not clearly explained, but I think that's exactly how it happened. They found someone to go in the night, sabotage the passage of the water, closing in the channel that was feeding it. So they reduced the frequency, they altered the functioning, and they could then go downriver and try to invade Egypt, which they failed anyway.
So,
but that was a barrier they had to overcome. That's interesting. Fascinating.
Yeah. So the singing pyramid thing I found was interesting. I hadn't heard that before. And then I looked it up, and it looks exactly like the actual percussion instrument the Great Pyramid does, which is interesting. So that's pretty cool. Any other questions in the chat for Ricardo?
Pulling up singing pyramid. I didn't know what these were either, but it's basically the same idea as a triangle, I guess.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
Yeah, this has been super fun. This has been a great show today.
Yeah, I failed miserably to talk about the 4000 BC, but
okay,
no, this was perfect. We did talk about it.
We failed to ask you about it after we moved on, but this was perfect because you literally kept segueing into all of our topics anyway, which was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
And we really appreciate your time and your knowledge. I really want to get your research funded, Ricardo. You mentioned the merch. How do people buy merch?
Oh, they can go to Institute. Let me give you the exact name, so I don't want to make a mess of it. Let me open Discord.
Yeah, because Ricardo is looking at a lot of these sites from like what I would call a macro level. He's like looking at it from a big picture, and he's asking a lot of questions that oftentimes don't get asked when somebody's an academic is narrowed into a specific field. And it sounds like Ricardo's trying to get a group of academics, real researchers who want to go to these sites and then connect all these dots from all these different fields. And really, that's the only way I think we're going to get answers to these questions. We cannot have like the historians on one side and the geologists on one side and the archaeologists on another.
We need all together, all working for the same thing.
So, yeah, how do you ask a question about anything unless you're you're approaching it from every angle?
Yes, exactly. So you can find all that in the website is Institute for Natural Philosophy altogether.org.
I'm going to put that in the chat.
So you can apply for publishing your paper because we have several numbers available for publishing papers. It has a specific name that I can't remember anymore, but you need a specific name for a number that has to be on the paper to be considered a paper. We also accept people that want to go and do research on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So we can advise them and say, look, you should bring this and this and this. What site are you going to visit? I'm going to send you all the material you need to know where you're going from our database. We can help on that regard. If people want to just participate in any way in the institute, there's several forms when they can fill in. And in regards to what you were saying, I'll be glad to send you my project for West Kennet Long Barrow.
Please.
If you know any way to make it financed, I'll be thrilled.
Well, I want to share your work as much as possible and have people buy merch. That's the only way I know how to get it funded.
Sure. Look, in terms of merch, it's Christmas, and you have lots of history-related articles on the Yorgos Designs store.
Mm-hmm.
So from ancient maps that can be imprinted in metal, in high-quality paper,
Cool.
into handbags, into puzzles that you give a kid with a magnificent ancient map, that you can have 2 or 3 books that we recreated exactly as the original, exactly as it is in the museum.
Wow.
This sounds like really good material for a spring equinox giveaway for our channel, collaboration for the channels.
Sure, absolutely.
Like an some of this type of stuff.
Yeah, we did a collaboration with another one of our guests, and he gave away a couple books. That's what I was plugging while you were talking. We could do something similar with you, where we would purchase something and give it away for our channel, and link your channel as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask, I know you guys don't have it all planned yet, but Mike and I want to go to Serpent Mound in Ohio.
Sure, absolutely. I'll keep you on the loop.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Plus it'd be a good chance for us to hang out and meet in person.
Sure. Look, I have to be honest. We at first we were imagining something a little bit smaller than a Cosmic Summit, for instance. But then we realized that for the first event, we had to truck foods, we have to feed all that people, we have to give bathrooms to all of that people, we have to keep medical services available for all of that people.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the first time we're going to that gentleman's estate that will allow us to do that in there. Well, we are going to pay, obviously, but so we decided to go for a smaller format for the first one. So we are going to have about 25-30 people with us, okay? And we're going to do is online streaming with high quality.
I like that.
So with good directing, everything as a professional program will be done by the Strange Road production. They're quite talented in that. So we are betting on streaming because we realize it would be too stressful for the production team to really create all the conditions necessary to put their 500 people in one estate.
Yeah, the logistics is too much for the first time, at least. I like the idea of the streaming though, and Mike and I will for sure stream it with our channel and watch. So do you have anything planned for the event yet that you can talk about? Or?
Yeah, we're going to have I can't tell your name, but I can promise you he's the most knowledgeable person about the Serpent Mound. He's been there and studying it for 30 or 40 years.
Cool.
We are going to have, if all when it goes well, he already said yes, we're going to have the Wandering Wolf, Nikiana Jones, myself. The production team will also give 1 or 2 people to speak. And our way of doing things is we'll have some presentations, but we are more interested in engaging with the people that is actually present. So we'll have chats with 2 or 3 researchers at the same time, discussing ideas, as you would see in times before, Rupert Sheldrake meeting Bruce Lipton, that are completely worlds apart, but they talk the same thing because it's all the same thing. It's just if you connect the disciplines the correct way, you find that everything is connected. So
Bruce Lipton is a tremendous author who's done helping us to connect those dots.
The Biology of Belief, I recommend seriously.
Piano and Dante said, wishing you much success and great job today, Ricardo.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And for instance, one of my favorite talks is the trialogues that used to happen between Terence McKenna, Rupert Sheldrake, and the third fellow. I'm sorry, I never remember his name. He's the mathematician with a great brain. Unfortunately, they only record the 3 last ones.
Oh man,
they only
I'll
record
have
the
to
3
look
last.
that up.
I'm looking at it.
Oh, you can find it on my Rumble channel, where I have my collection of videos that are not made by me.
Right, curated playlist that you recommend.
Yep. Old documentaries that are no longer available, most of them.
That's neat. I wonder if did our Rumble stream ever kick in? Hopefully we're on Rumble today.
It didn't, unfortunately. I'm gonna upload this to Rumble though as soon as we're done. So
we'll be on there. Well, we got a couple little things left to cover here at the end of the show. We save this to the end in case it gets a little silly. Winding things down. This has been super fun today. We talked about some ancient cathedrals, and I found this article. It's almost 2 weeks old now. Sarcophagus found, I think, in Turkey. They believe it to be the tomb of Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus's sarcophagi. I wonder why they came to that conclusion.
Yep. And so this was the earliest link to the article I could find, was around December 6th or 7th. And they did say that I think they said they opened it.
They broke it.
Yeah, they broke the lid. They fully uncovered the lid so far. And I'm thinking, okay, if this was published on Archaeology magazine.
Sorry, the lid? So it doesn't have a underground? The part beneath is open?
Like broke it right there, right?
I see it broken.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe they uncovered it, a few weeks before, maybe a month prior to that.
But they waited.
Yeah, but they waited to tell people about it. And I started thinking, okay, about a month ago is when all this weird stuff started happening, with all the sightings over Air Force bases.
So you're connecting the uncovering of Saint Nick's sarcophagi with Christmas and Drone Zone.
So we're now
drones. It's right.
Folks. So time for our weekly drone update.
Christmas is or Santa and the reindeer are a drone.
I'm just saying, you go disturbing the tomb of old Saint Nick, somebody else is going to get on that sled and fly through the Watch out, people. Here's a quick tweet about the list of air bases and sensitive sites where there's been either drone or anomalous activity. We've got a mix of activity going on in the skies, including a lot of very sensitive sites. Wright-Patterson, RAF Lakenheath, and these were the ones starting about a month ago. Here's another tweet that I think accurately sums up the situation. This one's kind of funny. I'm going to play this briefly.
They're aliens. They're enemy drones. Some are the size of a minibus. What the hell are they? We're saying we don't actually know what they are? Yeah, you do. We all know they're aliens. Let's all agree not to listen to the crazy guy. If I'm crazy, say they're not aliens. We got 3,000 calls citing UAPs. 10 we could take seriously. The Coast Guard saw them come out of the ocean. As always, we need everyone to stay calm. As always, you went bonkers over Chinese spy balloons. Semi-bonkers. So is it Iran? What? Russia? Oh, you. So it's North Korea. There's drones. Drones that avoided an F-16 fighter jet like it was a horse and carriage. Our adversaries don't have that kind of technology. So it's aliens. Will you stop? So you're flooding the sky with drones to hide aliens. How'd you know that? I mean, stop being silly. These things made us close down an airport. Crazy. Can you just tell us what they are? You really don't know? I'm sure acting like it. Mr. President, what do we do with these drones? I don't work here anymore. Shoot them all down. Just tell everyone what they are. What happened to see something, say something? It became see something, shut the hell up. Maybe we're all just too stupid to handle the truth. Is that it? Yes, finally. Somebody gets it.
I think I've been all of those people at least once in the last 2 weeks.
But I loved when he said you're using them to hide the aliens. He said, how do you know? No, but
I love that. I don't even know what he had on his head to be Trump's hair. What was that?
Yeah, I have no idea. That was funny. That was big. I didn't even pull up any like actual footage because the internet is just exploding with stuff. And one thing I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, we're getting a lot of UFO and drone footage from months ago, even a year
Yeah.
ago. That just it's coming up in people's algorithms and feed because people are interested. They're asking about it.
Yeah,
so there's
so
a
they're
lot of stuff.
sharing it. That's actually happening in the sky. That's happening both online as well as in the skies. I think more people are looking up. More people are like, there's some mass hysteria going on. So people are. I bet most of this stuff is either a misidentification.
Isn't that called pareidolia or something like that?
I don't
Mhm.
know.
Thinking you're seeing patterns, things where you're really not.
Yes.
Well, like you buy a car, you never seen it on the road or rarely, and once you buy a car, everyone has bought a car like mine now. It wasn't one, and now there's lots of them.
That happens to me all the time. Yeah. That with that exact phenomenon with the car. And I think that's what's happening in the skies. However, like, for example, our media team member, if she's still listening, she lives in the area where this is happening, and she's seen these drones literally over her neighborhood. I didn't want to say Long Island, but okay, she lives in Long Island, and it's literally, she's seen, how many have you seen so far? So she's seen them. And we asked Ricardo earlier, I think probably before we got online, before we went live talking about this, what was he seeing, and like what was he hearing from Portugal? My best guess right now is it's our government perpetrating some kind of false flag where they're scaring us and confusing us in order to seize power. That's my best guess. But I don't know. Ricardo, what are you hearing from your neck of the woods?
Well, as I told you before, I think that the places where they are appearing are completely protected and guarded, so they wouldn't not allow any kind of drone to fly over a base. In fact, I told you, I have one of the members of the institute, this George. It's the guy managing the store. The store is his, by the way. He's the talented one that creates the product. It's Yorgos Designs. He lives in a place where this is happening. And he says that the bases where they say the drones are flying over is places that you can even go closer with your car without coming 2 or 3 patrols with very aggressive manners. So,
Yep.
And by the way, wouldn't you, if you were a military on those bases and you start seeing that in the sky, you'd fire a shot or two because you train that. So I find it very. What I think it's going on is someone in the lines of what you said. I think not only they are studying people's reactions to a different phenomenon, they are probably implementing a new security system based on drones, and they are testing the technology, and that it got seen and that extrapolated to levels that they were not expecting. And so it's all being shut down by saying it is aliens, because for them it's great. It's aliens. It's not us. It's not our technology. Let them say it's aliens.
It's the best distraction.
And we shouldn't forget that most of the rumors that come out are not coming from people trying to ascertain the truth, but by system-controlled people that are paid and work just to create the confusion. So it's very hard to understand what is real and what isn't.
It really is, especially nowadays online.
And with AI, how you can tell what you're seeing?
Yeah, I saw one that I thought was one, and it turned out to be like somebody zoomed in on Starfield, the video game, instead. Like, there's a lot of that stuff. Piano Andante's still with us. He said it could be a publicity stunt orchestrated by the Musk family, considering that Elon Musk's brother Kimball owns a drone company called Nova Sky Stories. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, have you zoomed in a star?
I have a telescope. So
you have, so you know exactly what I'm saying. If you frame a star and you slightly unfocus it, or if it is the perfect atmospheric conditions for it, you see a globe exactly as those shown in those.
Exactly. But when I'm adjusting my telescope, I can literally go in and out of that really quickly. Where it's like there's the star.
Exactly.
And so.
No, it's an orb. It's an alien ship. No, it's a star. No, it's an alien ship. No, it's a star.
Even me, who's used to being an amateur astronomer to some degree, got tricked online because of this hysteria right now, right? And I just want to remind everyone, who's listening, about this drone situation. I'm personally, I'm a veteran. I'm a war veteran, and I'm not scared of this. What's going on? These things have FAA regulated lighting and stuff like that. As Ricardo said, they're like flying over major cities in major military installations and stuff. So this is likely just a study. How do we react?
A bump test. Engineers call that a bump test when you got this big honking dynamic system and you need to just poke one thing to figure out exactly what happens. If you're not sure, you just poke it and see what happens. So they're poking it and see what happens on the other end.
In the 1800s, there was a book written, asked by the government, and the question is, what would it take for us to be able to take liberties from people and change basic laws without the people rebelling and even thanking us? And the model presented three choices: the sinking of a passenger ship, the possibility of creating a situation of a big crash. They had the some kind of zeppelins or something like that, and I can't remember this. Oh, the turning down of a big building. So we already gone through the three of them. So we passed through Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through.
It was a national tragedy, by the way.
It was what? Sorry.
It was a national tragedy.
Nationally it was, yes.
Yeah, it definitely was. And what was the other one?
So it was the ship. I have to remember the three of them. The ship, the destruction of the towers,
Yes.
and terrestrial, like that in the sea, one on the land that can be said it was done by people trying to hurt us, like terrorists. They didn't have terrorists back then, but
that one time those people had a party on the front lawn. It was in January, I think.
So
just throwing that one out there.
So, sorry, go ahead, Ricardo.
I just lost my train of thought here because we're entering dangerous waters for your channel, and I don't want you to be blocked somehow.
Yeah.
I pulled up this tweet because Jacques Vallée, who's a preeminent anomalous researcher, has been for 50 years, basically says the same thing as what we're saying. Looks like some misdirection. Looks like this ain't the real thing going on. So
sure. Look, in the 70s, they had one of those meetings of the Trilateral Commission. Mm-hmm. Which most people will not know what the Trilateral Commission is, but is one of the most important sects of control over the world.
Yeah,
and it's real. And at the end of the meeting, the guy said, "Okay, just anyone that is here from our teams of reporters, please shut everything down." And one of the things that the guy said is, "You know what we're going to do? You're going to make boys and girls the same, and we'll change everything with it." So it took them 60 years, but they finally found a way to do it.
Yeah, indoctrination.
2 generations is what it takes.
They've been indoctrinating about the last 4 generations. So
look, we got to such a high level of technology and knowledge. We don't even know what a gender is. So that's how messed we are, and without all with all respect to people that identify as they want to identify, I have nothing against it. Agreed. I just don't want it to be shoved in my face as the only way to live. So that's the only thing I have against it. So
the thing I have against it is being taught in schools and normalized in schools. But what people do in their own personal time is fine with me. But you're right, and this is end of other civilizations, where they got to such a level of comfort and such a level of organization that they were able to worry about and come up with, stuff like this. Like, in a civilization just starting out and just growing and starting to thrive, they're not worried about this kind of thing where it's all over our politics right now.
Yeah, because they need to build the infrastructures. They need to know who the wise are and gather to their side.
Yeah.
But when we are at the point that we are now, facing a imminent catastrophe in the next 10 to 40 years, be it natural or system created, because I see both of they are exploring every opportunity. They even tried that city over the desert that failed completely because even they run out of money. So they happened is they finally realized, look, this will disappear as everything else. This won't take the pressure of what is coming. So there's no way we're going to spend trillions constructing a city this big with these infrastructures when it won't survive. So the money was pulled back, and even the machinery was left there. So if people that went there to see where they were constructing, there is millions of worth of material and machines abandoned in the desert. So that money was not the problem, as they were saying, because if it was, they would retrieve the machinery and all the stuff that they left there. But I think that we are about to be in a reset, perhaps in our own generation. And I was saying, could be natural and could be system derived.
Yeah,
and when that happens, they have a complete set of measures prepared to separate those that will want the social credits from those that say, I will go hunting if I have to. So I will get back to fire and stones. And in 10,000 years, we won't find the guy that was using the computers. We will find the guy that was living on the cave producing stone tools.
That's my big thing. Okay, let's talk real briefly. Bitcoin versus whatever kind of fiat currency you want. Big enough solar flare comes, I don't care how much Bitcoin you have. Your computer got fried. It's all imaginary. It's all bits anyway. So a big enough solar flare hits, who cares that you converted from money to Bitcoin at the last minute? What you really need is value, and food and shelter. That's what value is. Value is what really matters.
Look, most of the people, at least here in Portugal, that knew they were going to die and they were very wealthy and very knowledgeable of the system, one of the things that they did was to convert everything they had into gold. Everything. So even art was converted into gold. And these people know something, because gold will never lose value. The problem is you may not be able to spend it, because if you go underground, the ground may move and you're dead. If you go into the sea, a wave may come and you're dead. If you go into space, there might be meteorites or small particles up there and blast you to pieces. So I usually advise people to do this. Check your area. See high ground caves that have natural water. Go and study your marinas. See which boats suit you and what you can use in emergency. Because if this emergency happens, I guarantee you that the guy that owns the boat will not remember the boat. So if it is a situation you can go and run to the sea, run to the sea. If it is a situation you need to go to the cave, go to the cave. Use flight simulator. Learn how to fly. Check your nearest airdrome and see what kind of aeroships you have in there. Learn to fly them. It's not that hard. So they made it much more complicated than it is. Landing is terrible, but lifting off and accelerating and go up there, and we are in video games age. We can do anything. We can learn anything.
Can you fly? Are you a pilot? Can you fly a small craft?
No, I'm not licensed. I was put in a Cessna, and I managed to do what the terrorists did. I did a 360 in the air in the Cessna and returned home. So it was not that difficult. But in a Boeing, I guarantee you it is not that easy.
Yeah.
So, by the way, the terrorists didn't manage to do the 360. I did. So the guy was worse than me, and yet he did it with the Boeing. but it's not hard. It's actually like Flight Simulator.
National tragedy, though.
Yeah.
It was. It really was. It really was.
Yeah, no, it's an inside.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It
It's
really
national.
was a national tragedy.
It
really
is
was.
national.
We just say that every time like something comes up
I'm
sketchy.
hijacking Norm Macdonald. That's a Norm Macdonald bit that I'm hijacking. Cite my sources properly.
Yeah, but you have to see how lucky the world was to be able to find the responsible, because his passport was immaculate in a ceiling a block away of another building. So everything burned down, even a building, but the passport managed to flew to a ceiling top on the other side of the road and was pristine. So we know who did it.
Steel beams were toast.
Yeah, but we did it.
Yeah. I again, Ricardo, I'm super happy that you joined us today. We'd love
Thank
to
you
have
very much.
on, and talk about more of your research, as well as your book when it releases.
Sure.
So keep us posted on that. Mike and I have a sneak peek of it, so that's exciting. So we'll be able to read that, and maybe we'll do a book review for you on our channel.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. And have you be able to come on and talk about it. Mike, did you have anything else to end the show with?
No, we're wrapping things up. I think we've plugged our socials. We're going to have links in the description of this video. Like and subscribe. As always, we appreciate your viewership.
Losing your sound, Mike.
Big thanks to Ricardo for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, like and subscribe to us, Mike and Dave's Multiverse, as well as History, Myths, and Legends, Institute for Natural Philosophy, and
Quantum Akashic Network.
Quantum Akashic Network. Find him on X and YouTube. Ricardo, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It was
All
a
right.
very nice moment. Thank you very much.
We'll
Loved it.
have you back, my friend. And thanks again to Piano Andante for sticking with us for the whole
Yeah,
show.
and for the questions, thank you very
Participate.
much.
He just subscribed to both our channels, so thank you so much.
Peace out, everybody.